It is time for my December TBR, and I am feeling all the feels right now because I started my channel in January of 2020, so this channel is getting on to a year old. This is my last month before it is, so woo! Really excited. First thing that I want to let you guys know is that this month I will not be drawing a pre-April TBR book because my TBR is filled with so many books that I just don't have time to draw one. Now let's get into what I am going to be reading for the month of December 2020. The first book that I'm going to be reading in the month of December 2020 shouldn't surprise anyone. It is Oathbringer, the third book in the Stormlight Archives. I'm very excited to read this book because, oh my gosh, the journey I've had with Stormlight Archives has been absolutely amazing. But the big difference between Way of Kings as well as Words of Radiance to Oathbringer is I'm actually going to be reading from the one book binder. I ordered way in advance so that I could read from the one book binder. In case you don't know, this is an adult fantasy. This book is 1,243 pages long, which makes it a double tome, and 7 pages away from being a double tome and a half. It will be the longest book that I read for the entire year. I am very excited to get back to this book because this world is just amazing. I've been holding out. I've been waiting to pick this up. So incredibly excited. The next book that I'm going to be reading in the month of December 2020 is The Betrothed by Kiera Cass. Now, this is the latest book that Kiera Cass has published, and once I get through this book, I will have read all the books that she has published this year, so I'm excited to read this. I don't know anything about this book, so let's read a little bit about what this book is about, shall we? The dramatic return of Kiera Cass, a handsome young king. When King Jamison declares his love for Lady Hollis Bright, Hollis is shocked and thrilled. A would-be queen, she's grown up, vying for the king's attention, hoping one day to become Queen of Koroa? A perfect match. Then Hollis meets a stranger who seems to see right into her heart. Or is it? Suddenly, the future she wants is one she never dared to imagine. Okay, so I'm pretty much going to be going into this book blind, but I love Kiera Cass, so we'll see how we go. I am excited to get to this one. The next book that I plan to read in December 2020 is this book, Kissing Coffins, by Ellen Schreiber. This is the second book in the Vampire Kisses series. I read Vampire Kisses a couple of months ago, and I loved that book so much, and so I can't wait to get into the sequel. This is a YA paranormal book. It is 165 pages long, which makes it a novella. I'm going to be reading a lot of short books this month after Oathbringer because I have a lot of statistical videos to do in December, such as favourite books of the year, least favourite books of the year, all that kind of thing. So shorter books is just going to make the month easier for me. Because this book is not the first book in a series, as is the same with Oathbringer, I'm going to leave the books that I'm not giving you a premise of in the description below. I'm going to give you the Goodreads premises down there, so you can check that out if you so desire. The next book that I plan on reading in the month of December 2020, I'm incredibly excited to read because finally, this book right here behind me, Letters to the Lost, I read it a long time ago, and I am finally, can we just emphasize that one more time? Finally getting on to the companion book. More Than We Can Tell. I've been waiting months for this book to finally arrive, and it has traversed its way from the United States to my home, and now I can finally read it. I'm so excited. So, this book is a YA contemporary. It is 408 pages long, which makes it a half tome. So, I can't say much, but Letters to the Lost follows 2 characters. We have Declan and Juliet. Declan's best friend's name is Rev, and the little we find out in Letters to the Lost is that Rev has lived a very tough life. This companion book follows Rev, so I'm very excited to get to this one as well. The next book that I'm planning on reading in December 2020 is this book, Cancer Schmancer by Fran Drescher. This is an adult memoir. I am so excited to read this book because it's Fran Drescher. One of my biggest guilty pleasures when it comes to TV shows is The Nanny, the blushing girl from Flushing. I loved that show so much, and When I was younger, I read her Fran Drescher's first autobiography, Enter Whining, and I really loved that book. This book apparently picks up where Enter Whining left off, and I am incredibly excited to read this. So let's read a little bit about what this book is about. So the little blurb on the inside says, "Dear friend, all I've got to say is to hell with cancer. This book's about schmancer, laughing at the crazy things life offers, even when it's biting you on the, let's say, butt." And diligence that pays off. Here I'll be telling it like it was and is, so you won't have to go through what I did. Who knew when I was a chubby kid from Queens what a roller coaster my life was going to be? After the nanny ended, I divorced my husband, started living on my own, and began dating for the first time since high school. I wanted to feel free as a bird, but instead was weighed down by troubling symptoms, and so began my 2-year, 11-doctor odyssey in search of a diagnosis and a cure. There is more to the blurb, but I don't need to read more than that. It's Fran Drescher. Like, enough said. If Fran Drescher's going to release a book, I'm definitely going to be reading it, so yay! The next book that I plan on reading is More Happy Than Not by Adam Silvera. I'm incredibly excited to read this book. A couple of months ago, or quite a few months ago in fact, I read History Is All You Left Me and I absolutely loved it. Adam Silvera is an LGBTIQ+ contemporary author as well as a fantasy author, but I'm not a fan of his fantasy works. His LGBTIQ+ contemporaries are own voices. Adam Silvera, I did some research on this guy because he's amazing and I do research on my amazing authors that I love. Adam Silvera grew up as a gay boy in the Bronx, so to have him writing LGBTIQ+ books is just wonderful, and the way he writes them, they're so raw, so real, and oh my gosh, I can't wait to get into this one. It is a YA LGBTIQ+ contemporary. It is 300 pages long, which makes it a half tome. Let's read a little bit about what this book is about, shall we? In his twisty, gritty, profoundly moving debut, Adam Silvera brings to life a charged, dangerous, near-future summer in the Bronx. 16-year-old Aaron Soto is struggling to find happiness after a family tragedy leaves him reeling. He's slowly remembering what happiness might feel like this summer with the support of his girlfriend, Genevieve, I think? Or Genevieve, sorry. But it's his new best friend, Thomas, who really gets Aaron to open up about his past and confront his future. As Thomas and Aaron get closer, Aaron discovers things about himself that threaten to shatter his newfound contentment. A revolutionary memory alteration procedure, courtesy of the Leteo Institute, might be the way to straighten himself out, but what if it means forgetting who he truly is? So yeah, we both learned this, I think, at the same time. Maybe. I did. I certainly just learned it now. This is Adam Silvera's debut novel, so yay! Even more excited. After that book, I'm going to go all out Christmassy. I definitely am a holiday reader. This is my first year on BookTube, first time for Christmas on BookTube. So, as you could imagine, I'm going all out for Christmas. Let's get into my Christmassy books I'm going to read in December. The first book I'm going to read for my Christmas books is the Murphy Napier Buddy Read Book of the Month. I'm also going to be reading this book as a Mr. Francy Buddy Read Book of the Month, so I'm going to have my own buddy read for this book as well as being a part of Murphy Napier's Buddy Read Book. So if you want to join us, either through Murphy or myself, feel free to do so. This book is called The Deal of a Lifetime by Frederick Bachman. This is an adult contemporary. It is 65 pages long, you guys. It's a really short book, which makes it a novella. I recently read Beartown, and I wasn't a fan of that book, but that book was like a 600-page, really long book to get through. The audiobook of The Deal of a Lifetime is less than an hour, so it's a really quick read. It's clearly Christmassy. Oh my gosh, I'm excited to read this because yesterday when I was preparing, putting in the little tabby things that I read the first 2 lines of the first chapter and I was welling up with tears that I had to force myself to put it down and get to it when I get to it. So I was already crying 2 sentences in. Are you serious? So I'm looking forward to reading this. I'm feeling like it's going to be a very emotional ride. The next Christmas book that I plan on reading is The Nutcracker by E.T.A. Hoffman. I've had this book for a while. It's featured in a number of videos, including book hauls and such, and I'm very excited. So this is a middle grade fantasy. It is 40 pages long, which makes it a novella, and this should be the shortest book I read this year, so I'll be reading the longest book I read this year, Oathbringer, and the shortest book I read this year, both in this month, The Nutcracker, both in this month. I love this version. Isn't that so gorgeous? This is a picture book, so there are gorgeous pictures in this book. It's hard to see, but it also comes with the audio CD there, so even though it's a really short book and I don't need the audio for it, I will listen to it because the CD is there, so I might as well. I'll let you know what I think. The next book that I plan to read is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. This will be only my second classic for the year, an adult classic. It is 144 pages, which makes it a half tome. The edition is gorgeous. So every year for Christmas, I watch at least 2 films. I try to sneak them in every single year. The first of those 2 films is Miracle on 34th Street, the Mara Wilson version. And the second film is another guilty pleasure that I have, and that film is called A Muppet's Christmas Carol. Despite the fact that it is the Muppets, I grew up with this film. I love it. It has a powerful message, and I just watch it every year. That film is based on Charles Dickens' classic. I know what the story is, but I've never read the actual classic, so I'm excited to finally read this book, and it'll be the second classic that I pick up, and if I finish it, which I'm pretty sure I will, it'll be the first classic book that I have completed on my channel. The final Christmas book that I plan to pick up is when I was much younger, and for those of you who are my age or older, you'll know what I mean here. For those of you who don't, feel free to use Google, as we do for everything. But we had a VCR. So that reveals my age, and my mum used our VCR to film a midday classic film. Oh my gosh, I fell in love with this film. And then I found out this year that it is a book. You guys, I've been so excited since I've ordered this book, and once it arrived, I was even more so. And that book is The Christmas Box by Richard Paul Evans. So there are a lot of genres that this book can be categorized as. I'm going to call it an adult literary fiction because literary fictions, aside from other things that it can be defined as, are books that really make you think. And this story, I haven't read the book, but I've seen the film enough times. The story certainly makes me think every time I watch it. The book is 144 pages long, which makes it a half tome. So let's read a little bit about what this book is about, shall we? Whatever the reason, I find that with each passing Christmas, the story of the Christmas box is told less and needed more. So I record it now for all future generations to accept or dismiss as seems them good. As for me, I believe, and it is, after all, my story. Okay. So here's my quick premise. Basically, this story revolves around a 3-person family, a mother, a father, and a young daughter, who are at the beginning living in an apartment that is quote-unquote too small for their little girl. One day, their mother comes across an advertisement in the paper looking for someone to live in with an elderly widowed woman who can't look after herself. She needs someone to live in, to cook and to clean, those sorts of things. So the mother tells the father, you know, at the very least, we can get to live in a house, so it'll be more room for our little girl. And so they go off to do the interview. It's not just a house, it's a mansion, so added bonus. And let me give you a little bit of a tidbit. The family walks in to have an interview with this elderly widow, and when she gets to the father, she asks him what he does for his business. And he says that, she asks him if he's employed, and he says, "No, I'm an employer," which gives you an idea of how the father is. "No, I'm an employer." And she asks him, "Oh, okay, what is it that you do?" And he says, "I own a ski shop. I sell ski equipment." And he says to her, "Have you ever skied?" And she says something to the effect of, "The thought of strapping 2 narrow pieces of wood to my feet and flying down a mountainside has never appealed to me. No." And that's kind of their tumultuous relationship. Long story short, the family get the job, they live in the house, and one day the elderly widow poses the question to the dad. Richard is his name. "Richard, do you know what the first gift of Christmas is?" And Richard, "A tie," to which she's not impressed with. And she says, "I think you should give it some thought." Eventually he does, and it turns into a major lifelong lesson for him. And oh my gosh, this book is a very reflective book. I cannot recommend the story. I've not read the book, so I'm more commenting on the film, but I cannot recommend the story of this enough. Even if you're not a reader, I highly recommend, if you can get a copy of the film, to watch it. It is emotional, it is thought-provoking, it is amazing. This is the second Mr. Francy Buddy Reads book of the month, so feel free to come and join us. And then the final week of December, I am devoting it to a reread that I have wanted to reread. If you've been following my channel, you will know what I'm about to say, since February, and I'm so excited. Yay! Because in that final week, I need to sum up my year with videos talking about my favourite and least favourite books. So if I'm rereading, it just makes it a bit easier. And so I'm finally getting to what is now my second favourite book of the year, The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, the first book in the Mistborn series. I cannot wait to read this book again. There have been times where I've tried to read it again, and then I've just kept thinking, no, I'm going to reread it in December, so I'll put it off, and then I almost forgot to add it to my TBR. So it is there. I'm definitely going to get to this one. I'm not going to promise that I'm going to get through all the books, but I'm going to get through this one. For those of you who don't know, The Final Empire is book 1 in the Mistborn series, the Mistborn Era 1. Mistborn the series is a part of the Cosmi universe. Let's read a bit about what this is about, in case you guys don't know. Sometimes I worry that I'm not the hero everyone thinks I am. The philosophers assure me that this is the time that the signs have been met. But I still wonder if they have the wrong man. So many people depend on me. They say I will hold the future of the entire world in my arms. When they see me, do they see a liar? Once, a hero rose to save the world. He failed. For 1,000 years since, the world has been a wasteland of ash and mist, ruled by the immortal emperor known as the Lord Ruler. Every revolt has failed miserably, yet somehow hope survives. Hope that dares to dream of ending the empire and defeating the Lord Ruler. A new kind of uprising is being planned, one that depends on the cunning of a brilliant criminal mastermind and the determination of an unlikely heroine, a teenage street urchin named Vin. Where a hero rose to save the world and failed, can a young heroine succeed? This book revolutionized reading for me. I know that I love this book because I read it in February. I cannot wait to consume it again. Up. These are the books that I'm planning on getting to in the month of December 2020. Letting you guys go, peace, blessings, and so much love. I post videos every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I'll see you again soon. Mwah! Thank you so much for watching, and happy reading!